everybody. It is an exciting day today. Episode 21 of the Near Mint Hockey Card Podcast. Episode 21 is Stan Mikita's episode, a legend, maybe the best Blackhawk ever, and a bit of a trailblazer for Slovakians in the hockey world. And with me today, again, is Elan. Welcome back to the show, Elan.
Hey, Ryan, great to talk to you. It's been a little while. So I don't know, are you throwing some shade on Marian Hossa, both a Slovakian and former Chicago Blackhawk who had a pretty good career?
No shade on Marian Hossa. I love Hossa, Hall of Famer. Nothing bad to say about Hossa, but Mikita paved the way for Hossa to be who he was.
I guess it's really hard to compare like modern players to former players. Like who's to say like who was a better player between Panarin or Patrick Kane and Stan Mikita? Like it's hard to imagine people being better than Patrick Kane with the seasons he's been having so far. But I don't know. I wasn't watching Mikita in his prime.
No, I wasn't either. And when you look at his hockey cards, he's got like the most silly bucket. Like it looks like it wouldn't even help you if you got hit into the boards. Right?
Well, okay, yeah. Hockey's come a long way, and hockey cards have come a long way, including, I know we got some exciting things to talk about today.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can see on the screen, if you're watching, we've got 2020-21 Series 2 to dig into. We're going to run through every Young Gun that you can get in the box. But before that, a couple quick notes. Clear Cut came out yesterday. Been seeing lots of really crazy hits. I don't know if you've seen much of that, Elan, but you can get a Matthews Young Guns autographed in that box.
So wait, how does this work? You can get old Young Guns in this new released box?
Yeah, Clear Cut is a very autograph focused box. You only get one card. Like you open it and it's one card.
You open up a whole box
yeah.
And then it's just like what, styrofoam and stuff to make it feel heavy. And then you have one little card.
Yeah, it's just kind of like an encasement. And then they all come in one touches, like nice and sealed. So there's not like a lot of room for the cards to get banged up. But every single card has an auto, and then there's some crazy hits. It's nuts.
I've got a question for you then. So are they printing new versions of the Matthews Young Gun, or did Upper Deck like go and like find an existing one in mint condition and then throw that in the box?
I actually don't know. I imagine they could print them, or they've just got some. Like they must have lots of Matthews Young Guns, right?
I just feel like that's not the deal, you know. Like the deal is this card had a certain number of versions printed, and its value comes from the fact that no more are ever going to be printed. But once they're like releasing a new set with that exact card, I don't know, it's interesting, but I'm sure they know what they're doing.
Right. Well, okay. So it's also the clear cut version, which I think you can. I don't know if it actually came out in the Young Guns, but everything in the clear cut base is like acetate or the clear cut version of the card. So cool. Yeah, those cards are actually really, really nice. And of course, as with anything, you're going to have some quote unquote hits that are like guys you don't care about, just because not everything can be awesome. But yeah, it's a fun product, but it's a very premium product.
Well, cool. I'm curious to see when you'll show us some of your hits that you've pulled.
Yeah, I actually don't have any boxes of that. Maybe I will get a couple just to figure it out, but there's been some really cool ones happening in the Near Mint Discord, so if you're interested to see some cool hits, come join our Discord. You can find the link wherever you find us.
Cool.
The other quick thing I want to talk about before we get into Series 2 is PSA had a pricing update. It's significant. It's a little bit tricky to explain, but they've kind of doubled prices, but also let you send in 10 cards instead of 20 in their bulk submission. But yeah, I think they realize like they need to do something to address the fact that, you know, cards are just flowing into PSA constantly.
PSA is my ops right now. I got to be honest. Ever since they sent back my OV Young Guns with a 6 out of 10, and I don't really see anything wrong with it aside from one weak corner, I'm like, forget you. I'm going to send that same card to Beckett one day, and we'll see.
Ooh,
and if Beckett comes back with an 8 or higher, I don't know, I'm going to have a mean tweet to PSA. Like, you raise your prices when you have this product. I don't know.
That's hilarious. Yeah, we haven't had you on the show since you got that card back.
That's why.
That's why.
I went into hiding.
That I'm
I'm
actually
only
like, if you actually send that to Beckett, I'm going to be really curious to like to see what you get, but also to see what the subgrades are, because I looked at that card before sending it in. I looked at it after getting it back, and I have no idea why it's a 6 out of 10. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with PSA. It's like obviously it's a cool company, and like when you grade the card, it's worth so much more money if you get a high grade and all that stuff. But I'd like to know why. I feel like if you get a bad grade, even if you don't want to put it on, just like, give me a little note, give me something, just so I know. Now I'm gonna waste more money sending this over to Beckett, and like I won't have wasted. And also the frustrating thing, if I could just rant, is that we paid money to send this to PSA because we assumed it was going to be like a 8 or whatever or a 9. So like we paid the price because they want you to pay based on the expected value of the card. If I would have known it was they should give me a disc. They should send us money because the value is actually in the toilet because it's only a 6 out of 10. So we overpaid for this grading in the first place.
That is an interesting point, and maybe I screwed up and we should have submitted below the 10 or 9 value of an OV to get into that lower price point. But I was kind of thinking like, well, if you do that, well, then are they going to just like give you a shitty grade because they saw you don't even think it's worth that? So I don't know. There's some mind trickery going on there, and we did get it back faster. So there's that. The ones that we sent in at the regular are still sitting at PSA, and who knows when we're getting those. So I mean, we got the cards back quicker. That's the one bonus there.
Yeah. I got the Band-Aid torn off early.
Yeah.
Got my disappointment in early, and now I'm able to get over it. Finally come and talk to you on this podcast, which I'm excited about. One of the only reasons I agreed, by the way, to be on this podcast is because you've pre-ordered these boxes of Series 2, and you got a couple for me. Like, I'm paying you for them, but like now I have something to really be excited about, right? Because we're going to be talking about all these exciting cards, and I'm really excited to pull some of them. Remember that time that we did a show opening a couple boxes of Series 1 and we got the most like useless, worthless box of all time?
Yeah, it's funny. We opened 2 boxes on the show out of the case, and we didn't really get anything. And then, of course, I go like open boxes on my own and get cool cards. So maybe this time around we'll get some really cool hits on the show.
Yeah, we should definitely do that exact same show again for Series 2 and open each of our boxes.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have a case on the way, and we were going to each open a box, and it was supposed to be next week, March 10th, that the case arrived, but there's rumors of Upper Deck having delayed the release, and I went on Cardboard Connection today, and it looks like the date is now March 24th. That's what they've listed there. So maybe we aren't getting it next week, which would be super disappointing, and I have to come up with a new topic for next week.
You could do a recap of like the 2006-07 like Upper Deck. Just pick a random series to talk about instead.
Yeah. So the plan is to open those up. I'll also go through some of the inserts that you can get because there's some new inserts in Series 2. But today we're going to focus on the Young Guns you can get in Series 2. And just as a reminder, if you want to go check them all out, you can go to Cardboard Connection, figure out all the cards you can get in Series 2. It's going to be pretty exciting, some of these rookies. And this box, whether you're opening hobby or whether you're opening retail, you're going to get 24 packs. You're going to get 6 Young Guns in those packs. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting to open our boxes.
Yeah, and also this series is like a lot better than Series 1, right? Like obviously Lafreniere was the headliner with that really ugly, stupid Lafreniere card, just like behind what looked like a green screen. But and he actually so far has been a bit of a disappointment. Not that I'm worried about him long term, but looking through the list of these Young Guns that we're going to go through, this is like a lot of really exciting names, potentially as or close to as exciting as Lafreniere. Plus, like we don't only have one guy that we're trying to pull, and if we don't get him, then we're disappointed. Here, it's like as we're opening these, most of the not most, but I'd say at least half of the Young Guns are players who I've heard of, which is good, and then maybe a quarter of them are players who I think are actually really, really good.
Yeah. I think if we were to have reviewed this like before both the series came out, we might have preferred Series 1. But with the way Lafreniere has played, like, I'm all about this series. It's going to be awesome. So, without further ado, let's get into I want to call him our headliner, because that's what normally the first card in the Young Gun set is. Like, Lafreniere was 201, and this is 451. And that is Kirill Kaprizov or Kaprizov. I forget always how it's said.
I think it's Kaprizov.
Kaprizov.
Yeah, he's having a phenomenal rookie season, up to 17 points in 20 games now. His line, ever since Minnesota came back from that COVID break,
Yeah.
I guess you don't call it break, but like COVID time off, he's been on a line with Victor Rask and Matt Zuccarello, who like obviously Matt Zuccarello used to be a really good player, and then last year he stunk. So the way I think of it is like Kaprizov is like reinvigorating Zuccarello's career, and that goes to show how good Kaprizov is. I'm sure like Zuccarello deserves some credit for his resurgence, but man, like this guy Kaprizov is like basically everything we were hoping for going into the year, right? Like a lot of people thought, okay, he's a stud from the KHL, and the guys like Lafreniere who are like 18, 19, like how are they going to compete with someone like Kaprizov who's 23? He's been playing with men for a long time, succeeding, and he's like, yeah, he's blown my expectations out of the water, which were already decently high. Like I didn't even pick him on any of my fantasy teams, even though I was eyeing him and thought that he'd be good. But now I'm regretting that, and I think he's the runaway Calder favorite at this point. Like we're going to talk about some other guys who are looking pretty good, but I don't see how Kaprizov doesn't win the Calder unless he like assuming he doesn't get injured or something.
Yeah, he's got 17 points in 20 games. He's still only 23 years old. Like I actually thought he was a little bit older before I was looking into this. He was over point per game in the KHL before he came over. He was a 5th round pick, so like that's pretty wild. Actually, in the McDavid year, so it's kind of funny to get his young guns like this much later. But yeah, I'd say he's definitely front runner for Calder, and one of my top, like if you hit this, it's like a pretty sweet pull, but I don't think it's the one. It's not my top guy. I don't know.
Really?
Is it your top guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think he is. I mean, okay, maybe are you thinking of a goalie instead?
No.
Oh, okay. So, okay, I'll be curious. Let's just keep the suspense, and we'll figure it out as we get there.
Yeah.
But like, also a thing with Kaprizov is he has 17 points in 20 games. Like we keep saying, he's being centered right now by Victor Rask, like a nobody, right? Like, and at some point in the near future, Marco Rossi is probably going to become the top center on this team once he makes it to the league, like next year, maybe even. And like, I feel like the ceiling's even higher because Minnesota has a decent prospect pipeline. And once he's not playing with the likes of Victor Rask on his line, like, I think that he could do even better. Like, I'm really excited to see what Kaprizov can do over the next couple of years once he, like, you know, gets like, I don't even see how he could get more comfortable. He came to the NHL and just right away started dominating. And so, yeah, things could, I don't know, sky's the limit. I'm really into him.
Yeah, that's exciting. So let me ask you this. What do you think this card is going to be worth the day that we pull, like assuming we pull it day one, what do you think the price is?
Right. Well, it's like so much goes into that, right? Like in terms of the market of the team he plays on, and I don't know, other thing, maybe even the fact that he's like from Russia. I don't know if that like makes him more or less exciting compared to Lafreniere, who's like a Canadian, but I don't know. Like, how much was Lafreniere? It was like $400 at the start.
Yeah, Lafreniere was $400 for like a few days, and then $300 pretty steadily, and he's come down to 200 or even like it's like 150 sometimes now.
So I mean, like, wouldn't people be willing to pay 150 for Kaprizov, who's like a sure thing to win the Calder, rather than pay the same price for Lafreniere?
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't be too surprised if he was kind of in the $250, $300 range. I think that's what I'd guess. But I could also see it being a little lower because, like I said, like this isn't my first pick, and it might not be other people's either.
Is your first pick on Vancouver?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, I think I might know where you're going here. All right. I'm thinking in fantasy also, right? Like I'll admit, like I haven't been following hockey cards as much. Like you're bringing me on here because I can talk about things I know about because I've been following the hockey season very, very closely for all my fantasy teams. So I'm telling you, like Kaprizov is the one who jumps out to me as like he's the guy I would take first in a fantasy draft.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to bring your insights into the, you know, the hockey card value, which is obviously not always the same.
Yeah, I mean in fantasy definitely, and he's like, you know, he's I'd say the most steady, like the most sure thing if like you're buying cards. I wouldn't fault you for this being your number one guy, but yeah, there's a couple others in here. It's a pretty exciting group, and I think it's kind of cool that people aren't going to necessarily agree on what the best card is. Whereas like the Lafreniere box, like there were some other cool guys, but like that was the only real one where you were like excited.
Right, like maybe Bowen Byram, but even him, like he's playing this year right now, and he's fine. Like it's cool
Yeah.
that he's playing at such a young age, but yeah,
Yeah.
and Lafreniere, yeah, no one really from that set. Who is even the top scorer from Series One at this point? I need to bring up the list.
From Series 1 is probably Gabe Velarde,
Oh my God, come
but
on. Okay,
I'd have
that's
to
a bust of
look.
a box so far. Of
Yeah, yeah. There's room. There's room, but
course. Oh,
uh,
Josh Norris, right, centering the top line. Good point.
yeah.
The sports. Do you know who the sports guy 31 is here in the chat?
No, but he's a very smart sports guy, 31. Yeah,
Yeah,
Josh
Josh Norris has
Norris.
been good.
Yeah. All right, why don't we get on to the second Young Guns in this box, and let's see if you can tell me anything about this guy. His name is Jalen Chatfield. He is a Vancouver Canucks Young Gun, and that's about all I know about him.
Yeah, so he's played a bit this year. So this is my first year actually playing Dynasty
Okay.
in fantasy leagues. So I've gotten to know some of these young players. And actually, my strategy has been I've been doing this with Maddie, who's often in the chat room here. He's my co-manager. And so I've been like watching the free agents of the Dynasty League, which is like very like we did like 20 rounds of prospect picks.
Mm-hmm.
So any like available prospect is like someone who clearly doesn't have high upside.
Right.
But Jalen Chatfield was out there and playing games for the Canucks. So I added him.
Ooh.
And I could see why he stopped playing games for the Canucks. So his last game was against the Leafs back on February 6th. And he was like -4. Like just basically every time he went on the ice, the Leafs scored a goal. It seemed like he only played 13 minutes and he was -4. He was like before that -2, -1, -1. Like he was just minus game in, game out. I know plus minus isn't the perfect stat. Like that might say more about like Holtby than it does about Jalen Chatfield. But from what I saw, he definitely like had an opportunity on the team and did not perform well, and now he hasn't played since. So he's already 24 years old, so he's not like a young prospect. He wasn't picked high, so I think that I don't know, I'd be surprised to see him get another shot this year and maybe sometime in the future if they get some injuries, but I don't think this is someone who's going to be worth much from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, this is probably like the bottom of the bottom. Like if you get this young gun, like sell it for $1 or whatever. He's got 9 games played and 6 penalty minutes. The rest of it is pretty much useless. And he's been in the AHL the last 3 years and has a total of 17 points. So, yeah, I think
like the only thing you could say about him is the Canucks defense doesn't look that great. So he might just get more opportunities in the NHL because it might not be hard to crack the squad if they have an injury or two. But I don't think he's going to be an impact guy.
No. All right. Next, we've got Gillies Sen of the New Jersey Devils. And I don't know a ton about this guy either. He's got 2 games in the NHL, but otherwise, yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you the very little that I know about him, which is he's in the Devils system.
Yeah.
He's playing in Binghamton. Basically, the Devils have one other like kind of prospect goalie that I see people talking about named Nico Dawes, who is probably like the guy at the top of the list. Obviously, they have Mackenzie Blackwood on the big team, and they've got like whatever Aaron Dell and that random guy that I always forget his name that's played a couple games this year.
Sure.
But like Wedgwood. Scott Wedgwood. So anyways, but clearly the future of the Devils is Blackwood and then one of these young players. So probably Nico Dawes is ahead of Sen, but Sen is playing games in the AHL right now. So I don't know, like I think that he could potentially make it to the NHL. With goalies, it's so unpredictable, right? So if like Blackwood gets injured one year and if Sen outplays Nico Dawes, like there could be a situation where in the next season or two, we're seeing this Gilly Sen playing NHL games and then we'll see how he does. So he's not, I definitely would prefer to get his card rather than Jalen Chatfield if we're ranking them.
Oh, for sure. I'd say this is a little bit of a step above. And, you know, he played 1 game for Switzerland in the World Juniors. So, like, at least he's, like, you know, got some kind of pedigree, 5th round draft pick. You know, like, there's a shot. I think it's a long-term project and not very likely to be much of anything. But certainly above Chatfield at this point.
Like, I mean, the Devils have a good prospect pool. So, like, if the timing works out that Sen kind of makes it in right around the time like Jack Hughes is a superstar and some of their draft picks from this past year are making it on the team and doing well, like, I could see him. It's kind of like Cal Peterson over on
Right.
LA, where like right now they stink, but they're starting to look better. And like Byfield's going to be coming up. And like it just seems like the stars are going to align where Peterson is going to be the starting goalie for LA right when they start being really good. So that's why I'm like into Peterson. By the way, I don't know if anyone has gone out and bought his young guns. I got a couple over the summer and I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what it's worth in a couple years. So I'm sure it's like a PSA 7 with my luck of these cards that I bought over the summer. But I think Cal Peterson is the kind of guy that you'd hope Gilly Sen turns into where, but I know, but Peterson's much higher. So let's stop talking about Gilly Sen. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's nothing.
We'll go on to the next one. Number 454, if you're wondering their number of their young guns. We've got Gage Quinney, 25-year-old for the Vegas Golden Knights. And he's playing with the Henderson Silver Knights. He did play 3 games last year and got 1 point. But again, I don't think this guy's crazy exciting. He does have okay AHL stats. So maybe he figures it out, but
I don't really know anything about him, to be honest. So.
Yeah, no, like, like he's, maybe 0.75 points per game in the AHL. This year he's got 4 points in 5 games, but like he's probably third liner.
At
If
best.
he makes the team, I don't really expect this to be much of anything. He's already 25 years old, so like, typically when you're looking at young guns that people pay a lot of money for, it's a younger guy. So he's been around a while. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can move on.
Yep.
Not too excited about Quinney. Fun name.
It's a cool name, Gage Quinney. Yeah. Okay, so next we have an exciting one. Number 455, Alexander Romanov of the Montreal Canadiens. And, he was second round draft pick, 38th overall in 2018. And he played a couple years in the KHL. And now he's played 20 games with the Canadiens. So he is, that Montreal Canadian card that people will lose their minds over. And he's on the team. He made it.
I mean, the thing is that if we were having this conversation like a couple weeks into the season, this card would have a lot more hype, I think, because the Habs came out really strong and Romanov was looking like this like really savvy acquisition that they brought in because they needed D. And like in the first game of the season, he played like 21 minutes, had an assist, like 3 shots. He actually had 3 shots in his first like handful of games. He was like a high volume shooting, like he was playing decent minutes. Lately, unfortunately, the Habs have sort of fallen off a bit, which I guess led to their coach being fired last week.
Yeah.
And also Romanov's minutes have been going down. So it seems like maybe he's not going to be the savior this year. At least, I mean, it could still turn around, right? He's super young. He's only 21 years old, but like the season hasn't gone as well as it could have. But that said, if the Habs can turn it around, he is like a part of this team. And I think like someone that the fans are depending on to be, after Petrie and Weber, sort of the next like reliable guy. I guess they brought in like Joel Edmondson over the summer, but like if like Romanov has the opportunity to be like a really popular guy for the Habs because they've needed like some new blood on their defense. Like it's just been a while. I feel like ever since they lost Markov, I was like, are you guys ever going to replace Markov?
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. Okay. I guess not. Oh, you brought Carl Alsner. I don't know if that's going to do it, but like, so like if Romanov can actually fill that void and be a solid new defenseman on the team, then yeah. But anyways, TSG in the chat here saying he will be pricey. And I guess all the Habs players are pricey just because he's on the Habs. So it'd be nice just if they're winning and he's doing well. I'd imagine if you get his card, don't sell it now, maybe, because I think it will go higher once the Habs are good, if that ever happens. They were looking so good at the start.
They were, yeah. I mean, like, so the thing with Romanov is, and I think this makes a big difference in the card world, is he made the team early in his career, right? He's still 21. He, like, people still maybe remember him playing in the World Juniors in 2019 and 2020. And he actually, as a defenseman, he was point per game in the World Juniors for Russia, which is pretty impressive. And yeah, he's Montreal, like you said. So, I mean, to your point about selling, I think if you sell any young guns the first couple weeks after the box comes out, like that's probably a decent idea if you're trying to get good money for your cards. But yeah, otherwise, I think you could hold on. It's a Montreal card, right? Like we saw how much Suzuki spiked like crazy. Like I'd even be wondering, like, is this card going to be similar in price to Kaprizov? Because this is the Montreal card in this box. It's the only one. I think it's the only one. If it's not, it's the only one of note.
Yeah.
And like this is the card that everyone is going to be after if you are a Montreal fan or Montreal collector, and there are many.
I mean, that's like a travesty if his card is worth more than Kaprizov, and that would be like unfair.
It's
But who
totally
cares?
unfair, but
It's
yeah.
not about fairness, right? We talked about early on this show about how like Mark Stone's young gun is like criminally underpriced.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? So sure, like Romanov seems to me for sure the kind of guy that you don't sell now. Like he could he has the potential to have a strong career and be a major part of this Habs team, especially as like Weber and Petrie maybe start to sunset. It could be like Romanov is like the top D on this team. Like it's not outside of the realm of possibility. So definitely hold on. And I think I guess it would be tempting to sell early if it's like worth as much as Kaprizov and you could get like $200-300, but that's
Yeah.
crazy. Like he
Yeah.
hasn't done anything yet.
I
But
mean, I mean, like, so my thought on all of these is like the first couple weeks is insane. So I'd probably sell it, and then if I was interested in Romanov, I'd just buy it back in
right.
like a month or two, or whenever it dips a little bit. But yeah, it's really that Montreal factor, right? Like the fact he's made the team, he's gotten a few points, and he's got that pedigree. People will pay for that. But
Sure.
the next guy on the list is actually an interesting one to compare him with because he's arguably been like a lot better, right? Like, so the next
Definitely.
one is Ty Smith for the New Jersey Devils. I think if you're looking at Calder candidates, like this is another one because he's got 11 points in 18 games, and he was a first round draft pick actually, where Romanov was a second, but he plays for the New Jersey Devils. So like, is his card going to be more sought after than Romanov's? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you just about Ty Smith as a player
Yeah.
in that he's been like people have been talking about him for a couple years now as like the future top power play defenseman on this team. And then he came out roaring, like kind of like Romanov, but like much better.
Yeah.
Like he had points in his first 5 games this season. I think he like broke a record for rookies on the Devils, like a point streak or something like that, some sort of record where he tied it. So he had a great start. He's slowed down recently in terms of his points, but his ice time has gone like up and up, which I
Mm.
think is almost like more representative. Like it's almost like that. I like that better. Like for fantasy, it's not as helpful because if you don't get points, it's not helping you. But in terms of like role on the team, the fact that now he's seeing around 19, 20 minutes a game when to start the year, he was getting like more like 17, 18. And plus now he's been on the top power play for the last few games. So I think that he's going to be a major part of this team for a long time, like maybe like an all-star
Yeah.
before we know it. I don't know if he's going to win the Calder just because Kaprizov is not slowing down and Ty Smith has. But yeah, I think, again, it's like if it wasn't for the market, I would definitely expect Ty Smith's card to be worth more, all things equal. But I guess you're right that Romanov will probably be worth more just because he's on the Habs.
I don't know, actually. It's going to be interesting to see. Like, Ty Smith, you're right, is definitely a highly touted prospect. He was over point per game in the last 3 seasons in the WHL. He's a Canadian World Junior guy, so like people know his name, but that'll actually be really interesting to look at those two. I'd certainly be super happy to get a Ty Smith in the boxes that we open. I think it's probably
Totally.
he's probably like a second tier type of guy, like, but still pretty solid to get.
I mean, I could see Ty Smith. Like, if for anyone who also plays fantasy, like earmark Ty Smith right now as a sleeper for next year. Like
Yeah.
maybe like he's worth dropping in your 1-year leagues at this point, but I could see him being the kind of guy that you get late in a draft and then he's going to really surprise people because he'll come out strong after having a year of experience. He's already 20, but there's a big difference I think between being like 20 and 21. And the fact that he's already getting this opportunity now just goes to show that like the Devils are ready to like lean on Ty Smith. And I think he's, up for the challenge.
Yeah, it was nice to see him enter the league in the way he did. All right, let's get on to number 457, Mason Marchment of the Florida Panthers. And this is another one where, he's 25. He's been in the AHL seemingly forever on a few teams. He's not really like a big point getter, but he gets points. He's actually got 3 points in 4 games with Florida this year. But yeah, like, I don't know. Not really much special.
Yeah, I don't think he's someone who I've heard many people talk about. He's playing on the third line right now with Eto Lusterainen and Nola Chari. So I think that seems like a fair comparison of like the type of player he'll be, maybe the types of people he's been playing with right now. Uh, I don't really know much about him. I know that at some point Frank Vetrano was playing with him, and I was into Frank Vetrano and hoping that he could get better line mates. And now Vetrano's playing with Barkov and Verhaeghe, which is much better.
Yeah.
And that leaves Mason Marchment to not even have Frank Vetrano to play with right now.
Well, he does seem like he's a goal scorer. Like in most of his seasons, he's had like similar goal totals to assists or even more goals. So maybe he's got that going for him. Like he's certainly this isn't the guy that I'd be like this is a total bust of a young gun to get, but it's also not one that I'd be like, oh yay.
Yeah, he scored today, by the way.
So look at that. That's one of adding to his totals. Live updates. Mason Marchment with the goal. Maybe you'll get a few more bucks out of it. But it's also a Florida player, so like, you know, outside of Barkov and Huberdeau, whose cards have actually started to really skyrocket, people aren't like super stoked about Florida cards, generally speaking. So yeah, he doesn't have that like team boost.
Yeah, and like you said, he's like 25. I think like these players coming in and they're young guns at the 25. Like there's a reason why it took him this long to make the NHL. It's a good sign that he's probably not going to be a superstar.
Yep. Another older guy, not as old. He's 22. The next one on our list is Ian Mitchell. So defenseman for the Chicago Blackhawks, was actually a second round pick. Played for Canada in the World Juniors. And I guess he's been playing all year in Chicago, so he's an NHLer.
No, actually, I've heard good things about Ian Mitchell. I think that he's going to be something. Like he apparently had a really good run in college, and he was like a top college player in his year. And I did a beat writer interview over the summer with the Chicago beat writers for Keeping Karlsson, the hockey podcast I do, and they were saying how like they think that he might be one of their like future high end defensemen. They have Adam Boqvist and Ian Mitchell as like maybe one of their future guys. Like I think he's going to be a big, like he's already in the NHL this year, which is pretty impressive. I'm just trying to get
he's played 23 games, 4 points. I'm wondering if like maybe Adam Boqvist is the Duncan Keith and Ian Mitchell is more like the Seabrook, which like if he's Seabrook, at least in his prime, like that's great for Chicago. But you know, defensive defensemen in the hockey card world and in the fantasy world for that matter aren't going to really get you too much.
Right. Yeah. So it's hard to say like if he'll have that offensive upside. I think he's going to be like an NHLer. Like I think that this is not like the type of player like a Jalen Chatfield where we're wondering if he'll even like get back on the team. Like I think Ian Mitchell's gonna be like a big part of this Chicago Blackhawks decor for a while. But yeah, as far as if he's gonna be a big offensive guy, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, so maybe this guy's a little bit above the like bottom of the barrel or like barely NHLer young guns. Yeah, that's about all I got on Ian Mitchell.
Yeah. I think he's okay. If I got his card, I wouldn't be totally disappointed like some of these other players.
Right. Yeah. He's not a total disappointment of a pull for sure. I'm with you on that.
I'll take him above Mason Marchment.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. I think I would too. Although not by a whole lot, just because he's a defensive defenseman. But yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. That's sounds good. I mean, he's not so defensive, right? Like at the University of Denver, he had 32 points in 36 games last year.
True.
And like, I'm not sure actually why you're saying that. Like, I don't know too much about him to like, I just know that like I heard good things about him from the Chicago beat writers. I don't know if that's necessarily the case that he's a defensive defenseman. I think he's just like super young right now, not putting up points in the NHL, but I think he could potentially in the future.
That'd be cool. It'd be cool to see him get a power play role because that's really what's going to do it. I mean, in all fairness, I am very out of touch with the college program. So if he lit it up over there, like maybe that's going to translate. But also a lot of guys that score points in college come over
of course.
And don't. Yeah. So yeah, I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I've heard good things. That's all I'm saying.
No, I like that. All right, so let's get to the next one. It is, I think, pronounced Yanni Hakanpää. And this guy has a very large sheet of games played. So large I had to change my format for showing off this player. He's
28 years old already.
He's already 28, so 28-year-old into the young guns, kind of like Pavel Francouz was entered quite late. He's played in Smaliga, he's played in AHL, he's gone back to Smaliga, he's played in the AHL, but right now he's playing for the Ducks. He's played 23 games this year.
So people playing fantasy specifically in leagues that count hits, know this guy already.
Okay.
Because I don't know if this translates to hockey card value. I'd imagine not, but he's like the Mark Borowiecki of this season. Like if you look at the last few games for Anaheim, he's got like 4, 6, 9,
right.
4, 6, 4. It's like 4+ hits game in, game out. You tell me if that's worth anything for hockey cards. But like if you like your players throwing the body around, he's doing that.
I think if he can have a bit of personality around it, or like throw really big hits, or like have a little bit of something that gets fans to like love him as a player, that could do something. The pure stats alone is not going to translate into hockey cards. He's certainly never going to be a hockey card that is more than, I would say he'll never go above like $10, unless at like the very beginning people are like just paying to get the set. But I don't really see him being ever above $10, maybe not even above $5.
Maybe if this was the era where Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em hockey was coming out every year still, and then you got all those clips of like his big hits, and like I don't know, he was like drooling over all the big hits. I don't know if maybe the fans of that would be into Hakan Packard, though I guess if you're a fan of Don Cherry's videos, then probably you don't want players that are not from Canada. So I don't know, but anyways, yeah, that's all I know about this guy is he gets you a lot of hits. So
yeah,
probably not worth good. I don't think he's gonna get you a lot of points. That's for sure.
No, me neither. But he's not a total loss.
I mean, he's someone I've heard of.
Right, exactly.
So that's something.
All right, next guy on our list, number 460, is Austin Poganski. What do you know about this guy?
Less than I know about Yanni Hakanpää. I'll be honest, we could probably skip him. Like, I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say, like, I don't think this is a huge get.
I think it's negative.
He's a right winger. He's been playing in the AHL. He's played 5 games this year and did nothing with them. So yeah, I think this is close to the bottom as you're getting. He plays for St. Louis, if that's your thing. But yeah, he's probably, I don't know, the second worst guy we've looked at.
I don't know. It's just like he's 25. He's still not getting consistent NHL time. He's a guy who's going to be fighting to even make it to the roster next year. There's no guarantee he'll even play in the NHL again. So I think it's as low as you can go. I guess anything could happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's get on to the next one because it's a biggie. Number 461 is Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders. Obviously a great career in the KHL before coming over, but he's still only 25. And I know, Elan, you're stoked about Ilya Sorokin.
Well, when you said that you don't think Kaprizov is going to be the number 1 most valuable card, I thought you were going to say it's Sorokin. But now I'm wondering if you think it's Romanov because he's
no.
But no. Is there a Leafs player that I'm not thinking of?
No.
Anyways, okay, we'll get there.
Poor Leafs fans.
So Sorokin actually came in like a lot of people thought like he could potentially be a Calder candidate. And then he came in, he had like a bad first game against the Rangers, let in 5 goals, then didn't play for a week because Varlamov was like amazing. And then he had like a not amazing game, a couple of games, like for his next couple of games. So he played 3 games in January. They didn't play again for 2 weeks. They were just rolling Varlamov because he was doing so well. But then February 16th against Buffalo, shutout.
Mm-hmm.
Then he took another, like, what is this, 12 days off, then played again versus Pittsburgh last week, another shutout. So he was riding a 2 shutout streak going today. And then finally today, March 4th? Yeah, yep. March 4th today, he got the start when like they could have played Varlamov. Like all these last 2 starts, it was because it was a back-to-back or something. That's the only reason why Trotz decided to give Sorokin the net. But here he could have gone Varlamov, but he went Sorokin. He's so far, I don't know. Like, I don't know if people care about mid-game updates on a hockey card podcast, but it's like midway through. He's probably going to win against Buffalo because Buffalo stinks. It's 3-1 at the end of the second period. So Sorokin is really turning it around. Like he had a bad couple games to start. Probably wasn't feeling great about himself considering he had a couple bad games and had to just sit on the bench game in, game out, watching Varlamov like steal the show. But all of a sudden now Sorokin's looking like in fantasy, like get him every time he plays because he's starting to look like a lights out goalie, the one we were expecting. And I just think the sky's the limit. Like, and there were some other goalies from Russia that people were excited about going into this year, specifically Shestyorkin and Samsonov.
Yep.
And both of them have had some like shakiness. And like, I don't know how much you want to blame on them. Like Samsonov like got COVID and was out for a while, but like in the couple games he has played, he wasn't that great. Sorokin just seems like he's locked in and ready, kind of like a Kaprizov. Like he had a couple bad games, but again, super small sample size. Like it's only been now a couple games that he's been good, but he's looked really good. Now this is his third game in a row, and he's going to play this weekend because the Islanders have a back-to-back. So it might be just perfect timing for this set to come out right as Sorokin is starting to put on a hot streak and maybe starting to get more games.
Wow.
So I don't know if that means you buy or sell or what, but I think he's going to be great anyway. So this is like a card that's going to land. Like you might have to wait a couple of years for him to be a real superstar just because Varlamov is still going to play a lot because he's been like fantastic as well. But Sorokin, like all the hype was there coming from the KHL. And I think he's a really good goalie. So what more can you say?
Yeah. I also think he's a great goalie and he could be a superstar in the league. But I'm a little hesitant because the Islanders just play really boring hockey and they don't get a ton of attention as far as cards go. Like Barzal cards aren't even that insane, and he's like the face of their team now. So like from a hockey card perspective, I do think this is a good one. But it's kind of in my like second tier. I wouldn't put him with the top gets in this box.
Like I guess like last year people were super into Elvis Merzlikins, right?
Well,
so I would say like
they were interested, but I wouldn't say they were super into him.
Okay, well I'm just saying like I see them as like similar right now. Maybe like that'll be what the card value is, but I think Sorokin has higher upside than Merzlikins. So if you want like a benchmark, I'd be more into Sorokin than Merzlikins. Also, I don't know what this means, but he's an RFA at the end of this year. So there's always a chance he doesn't stay with the Islanders. Or maybe he signs a bridge deal, gets one more year on the Islanders, gets himself to UFA status, and then becomes like a really high ticket unrestricted free agent. So it's not a guarantee he's going to, it's not as if he's like signed 8 years for the Islanders like Barzal did. So.
No, yeah, I'm with you. And you know what? Like the Islanders have a really solid team. They could go on a cup run this year in a couple years. That wouldn't be crazy. Especially if he's backing them and playing incredible. Now, he'd have to beat out Varlamov for the job, so I don't know whether that's happening. But yeah.
Varlamov's only locked in for another couple years, so eventually, if he stays there. By the way, I was wrong about Barzal. I don't know why I said that. He signed a 3-year contract. Maybe I'm thinking of Anders Lee. He's the one who's locked in on the Islanders forever.
Their captain. Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, Sorokin's good. That would be a good pull for sure.
Yeah, I'd be happy with it. I'd be more happy about this next guy, and that is Niels Höglander from the Vancouver Canucks. And, 10 points in 26 games, but it's just, he's just a flashy guy, right? Like, it's all pure talent, pure skill. He's on Vancouver who, are struggling, but people love this guy. So, that's kind of what I'd be excited about this guy for. And he's going to be on the highlight reels.
Yeah, I think he's good. Like he seems like the perfect hockey card guy because like this season, like whenever the Canucks were like struggling, then you search on Twitter and people are being like, man, this team's terrible. The only good player is Höglander. Like everyone's always like, the only one actually trying is Höglander. Like back at the beginning of the year when Pettersson was struggling a little bit.
Right.
I mean, just today, like for a while, Höglander was playing on the line with Bo Horvat and Tanner Pearson. Looks like today they've switched it up and Höglander's playing with Gaudette and Brandon Sutter. So that's not great, but obviously that's a very short-term thing. And I think it looks like this could be a top 6 guy on this Canucks team for like a long time. And you're right. He seems like the kind of player that the fans are going to really like. So because he just like works hard, and like makes plays, like puts in a lot of effort whenever he's on that. He's like Rudy, I guess, but for hockey. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I think there's also upside for offense. Like we saw it for stretches. Like he scored some nice goals. He's only 20 years old. So yeah, I'm surprised he fell so far in the 2019 draft. I think if they were to redraft right now, he might go a lot earlier than 40th overall.
Yeah, 40th overall is a bit down there. He's a guy that did well in the World Juniors. So yeah, and if you're buying a Canucks card right now, like you either have to shell out to get Pettersson, and even Besser's gone up a bit. So I think this is your guy if you're a Canucks fan buying something that like I think will be a bit cheaper, but who knows? Maybe this is also going to be a really expensive one out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I will say Sorokin has a much better chance of being an all-star in the league than Niels Höglander. So if you're buying a Höglander card or if it's worth more, it's just because he's on the Canucks, I think.
Well, I
But
think it's like the Canucks, and he's like a fancy forward versus a goalie,
right.
right? Like, I'd actually be pretty shocked if the Höglander cards were less out of the gate than the Sorokin cards.
Like I think that Sorokin has a decent enough chance to win a Vezina one year. I
Sure.
don't think that Höglander is going to be winning an Art
Yeah,
Ross or whatever.
maybe not. But like, you've seen what Vezinas do for goalies. Like,
Yeah, it's true.
Hellebuyck's card is like still like $20. Like, nobody cares about it. And he's a Vezina and carrying his team to wins.
Yes, it's a good point. I guess there's no reason to really go after any goalie if they're not like Carey Price or something like a goalie that's beloved and in a market that people care about. I'll be honest, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, I've never heard of them.
All right, well, let's
So we
fly
could probably
through
do them
them
all
now.
at once.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Nicholas Milosh of the San Jose Sharks. Actually, 40th overall pick. So
Yeah, but like
not
6 years
nothing.
ago.
Yeah.
6 years ago. Like
6
so I
years
think at this
ago.
point he's been a bit of a bust.
Yeah, he played for Team Canada, so like he's got some, like maybe, but he's 23. He hasn't cracked the roster. He played 5 games this year. But yeah, I don't think this is the absolute worst guy in the box, but not super stoked either.
Fair.
Next guy we've got is Brandon Crawley of the New York Rangers.
So how did he get here? He hasn't even played a game yet.
Yeah, I was noticing this as I was putting it together. I think they, once again, just like Series 1, have put a couple guys in that haven't played games because they really didn't have much of a choice, I guess. Because they're kind of like releasing things early, and they put a lot of guys into Series 1 that I think maybe would have normally been Series 2. And they're also having, I mean, this is a time we can bring up, they're having an extended series, whatever that's about, where they're going to release more Young Guns in a different box.
Oh, wow.
Like Kravtsov, for example. And,
Well,
like,
he's already out. Kravtsov is out from Series 1.
sorry, not Kravtsov, Kaliev for
okay.
LA. And so, like, they're putting kind of these random guys that haven't played into the box, but they're not putting guys like Kaliev, who also hasn't. Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Why is Kaliev not in this series? It's just really because they want to release another product.
Yeah, like this is a filler card right here.
Yeah.
Brandon Crawley. Come on.
This is definitely a filler card. Like, yeah.
I'm sure he's a great guy, but I've never heard of him.
I'm sure he's a great guy, and maybe he makes the team one day, but this is definitely right at the bottom for me.
Yeah, definitely. And this next guy, definitely also.
Yeah.
Philippe Desrosiers.
Philippe Desrosiers. That's my best French version of who this guy is. I mean, yeah, like, he probably isn't anything, but he is a goalie, so it takes longer. He's 25. This is a Florida Panthers card, by the way, when it does come out. He's got good numbers in the AHL, like, pretty solid. So maybe one day he's a goalie, but this is like a long-term project, and if I got it, I'd be like, yeah, maybe I'll hold on to this, and maybe one day, but I'm not like stoked about it at all.
Yeah, and if he has a future, it's probably not with Florida, just because Spencer Knight is the future of the Florida Panthers.
Right.
They've also got Sam Montembeault, who I've at least heard of.
Yeah.
So it would be pretty surprising if a guy who was drafted in 2013 and has never played an NHL game all of a sudden now like becomes a hockey card that anyone cares about.
Yeah, I mean, goalies are an anomaly. I have such a hard time with goalies outside of like the absolute superstars. So that's kind of why I say I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't be happy with this young gun pull.
No, and same with the next one.
Definitely same with the next one, which is Jordan Gross of the Arizona Coyotes. He's already 25. He hasn't done a whole lot in his career. Yeah. And I feel like he's already like a forgotten about D-man.
Yeah, definitely. Like everything about like he's a defenseman that's not going to get points. That's on Arizona. That's 25. That's barely cracking the roster now. He's played 3 games this year. Come on, let's move on.
Next. All right, then we've got Calvin Turcoff of the Columbus Blue Jackets. 7th round pick. He's a center. He's playing in the Swiss league on Zug right now, so like not even in the NHL. Like he's not here.
Yeah, I'm saying
Um,
this set of five guys was like all just, if you pull any of them, you're
yeah,
like, who is this person? Are they
not
ever even going to play another NHL game?
not a good one at all. He did play in the World Juniors for Switzerland, so like maybe he's a little bit better than a couple of the guys before. Like at least he's a forward, but yeah, not a good one. The next guy too, I don't know. Like this is Matthias Brome of the Detroit Red Wings. He played 22 games with the Wings already. Uh,
Yeah, he's someone I've heard of. So this is a step up.
okay,
He
it's a
actually
small step up. Small step up. All right, I'm with you.
he had a stretch this season where he was playing with Larkin. Larkin's injured right now. Like most recently, I think he's been playing with Larkin and Zadina on the top line because I clearly Blashill just decided
Yeah.
all of a sudden that Mantha's bad and he doesn't want to give Mantha a good
So
deployment.
weird.
And so his loss has been Brome's gain somewhat recently, though it looks like he's out of the lineup again today. So in the end, like he's still not a high end guy at all. He's already
No.
26 and he's just starting. But it was nice to see him get good deployment. He would have been a good stream in like a super deep fantasy league. Not that he did much with it, but
Yeah, like
yeah.
he came over from Sweden, and in Sweden he was doing pretty good, like 20 points in 23 games this year. So yeah, like he's 26 years old. He's had a few seasons in Sweden where he scored points, but he kind of reminds me of on the Oilers like Gaetan Haas and Joachim Nygaard, where like over there they were doing pretty well, and then they showed up in the NHL and their bottom liners are just serviceable guys that can play but aren't going to be point getters.
Yeah, like if he's playing with like Larkin, that's obviously pretty good. Not that Larkin's been so great this year, but
Yeah,
now today he's playing on a line with Michael Rasmussen and Adam Ernie.
right.
So I don't think much is going to happen from there. But this whole Detroit team looks like a disappointing young guns pull.
For sure.
Like they've got Mantha and Zadina. And then aside from that, like how many more forwards can you even name on this team off the top of your head?
Did you say Christopher Ian?
No, who's that?
Darren Helm.
Oh yeah, Darren Helm is there.
I don't know. That's Bobby Ryan.
There you go. Yep, Ryan. Yeah,
right.
He's had a fun resurgence at the start of the season.
Yeah, no, not a great crop. All right, let's get to a good one. The next guy, number 469, is K'Andre Miller of the New York Rangers. First round pick, playing with the team this year. I'd be pretty happy with this. Not like lights out, like this is the best one, but I'd be happy.
Like I've heard a lot of hype about him, like going into the year. Like I think that he is expected to be kind of like an Ian Mitchell, but probably better. Like he's going to be on, but he's going to be on the team. Like there's no concern about like, is this like he's an NHLer for sure. He's cracked the team. He's already playing like pretty big minutes. He's benefited, I guess, from D'Angelo like getting cut from the team. And so all of a sudden K'Andre Miller's been seeing like a lot of power play time, a lot of even strength time. So far hasn't translated to many points, but the Rangers overall haven't even been scoring that many points. But I think he's got a very bright future. I think it looked like on paper, this Rangers team should be good soon. It hasn't come together this year.
Yeah.
Zibanejad's all of a sudden not good anymore. But yeah, K'Andre Miller and Adam Fox are going to be their top defensemen. And I think they're both like awesome players. And yeah, like I'd be happy to pull this card for sure. Like maybe he's not going to be a huge hit this year, but he's only 21. He's already playing 20. That's the thing. If you're playing 20 plus minutes as a defenseman, the NHL as a 21-year-old, you're like a very good player. So we'll see how that translates to hockey card value, but he's going to be a very like prominent NHLer for like 10 plus years.
Yeah. So I think it's a nice card. I don't think he's going to be a big point getter. He wasn't in the World Juniors. He was like okay in college points wise. But I just don't see him getting a ton of points. Like he'll get some, like he just won't be like the Makars or the Quinn Hugheses of the league, right?
Yeah, I guess probably Adam Fox. It would be the higher end option on the Rangers if you could only have one young guns defenseman.
I'd still definitely think Fox has a higher offensive ceiling.
Yeah. But this is a good pull though. If I open a pack and I'm getting a K'Andre Miller Young Guns, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I'd be into it. All right, the next one is Nico Mikkola of the St. Louis Blues.
Another filler.
Definitely a filler. I mean, he's playing this year. He's played 13 games, but no points. He's a defenseman. So, maybe he's an NHLer, but that's about all that I care for as far as hockey cards go. Um, he's already 24, and that's about it.
Yeah, he's been playing like 13, 14 minutes a game. So this is like a defenseman that, yeah, it's nice that you made the NHL as a 24-year-old, but like K'Andre Miller is playing 20 plus minutes a game as a 21-year-old. So it's a very big difference.
Totally. The next guy is Mackenzie Entwistle of the Chicago Blackhawks. Great name. Just great
Yeah.
name. Originally drafted by the Coyotes in the third round. And yeah, this is another guy that hasn't played a game yet. He doesn't have a ton of points in the AHL. He did play for Team Canada, so there's that. But otherwise, yeah, not super sweet.
No, I have nothing to say about him. Not a card you're happy to get if you pull him.
No, definitely not. Next guy is Anthony Angelo, who also has a pretty long stat sheet. But yeah, he's played a couple games this year, 3 games for Pittsburgh. I don't think there's really anything as far as Pittsburgh cards go in this set, which is sad for those fans. But yeah, this guy seems like a career AHLer. Maybe gets a few tastes of the NHL.
Yeah, like, it'll be fun to see if he ends the season with more points than Anthony D'Angelo, who's currently not in the league. But like that would have been like the kind of guy that you draft by mistake in a fantasy league because you mistyped, and then you're like, wait, no, I didn't mean Anthony Angelo, I meant D'Angelo. But now both of them would have been a bust pick.
Yeah.
Another filler card here that you're like, when you're like picking it up slowly on your near mint stream, and you're like, oh, it's a Young Guns. Who's it gonna be?
Yeah.
Oh, Anthony Angelo. All right.
Yeah, it's definitely like, oh, all right, fine. Next is another one, Chase.
Speaking
Prisky.
of next.
What can you tell me about Chase Prisky, Elan?
I can say that he's never played in the NHL, so he's another one of these. I guess they just had a handful of guys. They're like, let's fill out this Young Guns set with non-NHLers. Yeah. How about a guy who was drafted in the 6th round in 2016? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything.
Yeah, he's a Florida Panthers Young Guns card. He's got some AHL games. He's a defenseman. But yeah, that's definitely one of the very worst ones you could get out of this box, I think.
Yeah, I'll definitely take the next guy ahead.
Yeah, the next guy, I think, like, I'm not like, oh, baby, like, give me this card. But the next guy is John Leonard of the San Jose Sharks, a guy I had no idea about coming into the season, but he's been doing okay.
Yeah, he started the year like on the top line, playing with Evander Kane or whatever in the top 6. Like, I guess you have the Couture line and then the like hurdle line, and he was like on one of them, and he was getting some points even for the first couple games of the year. We brought him up on Keeping Karlsson. We're like, who's this John Leonard guy? Is he someone worth paying attention to? Like, since then, he's like kind of been in and out of the lineup a little bit, like jumping to the taxi squad, but he played in the last game. Like, he's back to the bottom 6, probably having some fun playing with Patrick Marleau. It's kind of cool for in your rookie year to be playing with such a legend. But he was a star apparently in college last year. Like, I think he won. If he didn't win the Hobie Baker, he like won some award. Like, I remember I was talking to some Sharks person who was like, oh yeah, he's like coming in with some pedigree. So he could potentially be something. Like, he's definitely not a sure thing, but he's he's a player who's like in the NHL now, and it's not 25 years old. He's only 22. He was drafted in the 6th round a couple of years ago. So I think he's like overperforming expectations, but he's someone who could be an NHL. I don't think he'll be like a superstar, but he's not nothing.
Yeah. I mean, he might've dropped in the draft a little bit because he had told them he's going to college and he wasn't like the high end college player. So I could see that being kind of why that happened. He's always been a point getter in every league and every season. So at least he's a point getter. He's on a bad team right now that isn't really doing a whole lot. But yeah, I could see this being an okay card. Like, it's probably in like the $5 to $10 range as far as Young Guns go. Once prices settle down after the box openings.
Yeah, I mean, it'll really depend what he does, right? Like, he could be a longtime NHLer that maybe gets 40 points a season. Like, I don't even think he'll be worth $5-10 once next year's cards come out. Like, he'll have to really impress. But he's like a lottery ticket, right? Like, there's a small chance that he can end up being a hit,
right?
But he's not someone that people are especially excited about.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'd lean more towards like $5, like $4 kind of thing.
If you could sell him now, like right when you pull him for like $10, I'd take it.
Oh, I think you will be able to.
All right.
The sales, like when the box first comes out, are wild.
I mean, don't forget that Series 1 was especially wild just because there hadn't been hockey in so long. Like, I wonder
True.
now that this is a more regular, like people have, it was only a few months ago that we were opening Series 1. So I wonder if it'll be a different experience. It'll be really fun to follow those prices when it drops.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Okay, next up we've got Brian Pinho of the Washington Capitals, who...
So I think we can move on.
Yeah.
As soon as you show me someone in 2021 that was drafted in 2013, it's like, and his Young Guns is only now, like, we don't have to talk about this person.
Yeah, he's played 2 games with Washington. I don't...
Yep.
Yeah, he's a center. Not happy about his card. The next
you're not happy if you pull that.
Yeah, the next guy is Cal Foote, who is a Tampa Bay Lightning young gun. He was drafted 14th overall, so people like Cal Foote. He's playing with the Lightning, who are a good club. He is a bit more of a defensive defenseman, but he's a player.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably better like real life than like in terms of fantasy or like a hockey card type thing. Like his dad is Adam Foote.
That's cool.
So he has that NHL pedigree. So he's cool. Like the Lightning are a team that are very good. So he might find himself in the Stanley Cup Finals as soon as this year. Might get his name on a cup this year.
Ooh, that could help him a little bit. Don't the Lightning have both the Foots?
Do they? Oh, Nolan Foote is the other one?
I think so. I could be totally off on that, but I thought that they managed to grab both of them. So yeah, I'd be like, okay, I got a Cal Foote card. That's cool. Not
yeah,
stoked,
like he's
but
yeah. I think he'll be an NHLer, like so he's
Yeah.
better than some of these guys that aren't NHLers, but I don't think he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right. Well, what about Keegan Colasar of the Vegas Golden Knights?
Yeah, so I know him kind of similar to that guy Hapanaka.
Yeah.
What was his name on Anaheim again?
I think it's Hapanka.
Yeah, so Kolazar is another guy who's been getting a lot of hits this year.
Okay.
So if you're playing a certain type of fantasy league, then he could be useful. He hasn't played all of the games, but when he plays, he throws the body around. There was some like drama with him earlier this season. Like either he got injured or he injured someone and there was a suspension involved. I forget now what it was, but
yeah,
I heard his name in the news.
Well, looking at the numbers, he definitely takes his fair share of PIMs. He had a year in the AHL where he played 74 games and got 90 PIMs. So penalty minutes guy, maybe he can be kind of a exciting guy to watch in Vegas who just like throws the body around like Reeves 2.0. I don't know.
Yeah, like I definitely don't expect him to be a big star, but he's someone who, yeah, if you're into the guys who throw a lot of hits and will maybe get into some news stories because he
right,
I don't know, gets into a fight or something.
Yeah. So not one I'm excited about, but he's an NHL guy that's going to be doing something on the ice.
I guess so. Like he's not even playing every game.
No.
So not too exciting of a card.
This next guy is Alec Regula for the Chicago Blackhawks, and he had 60 points in 56 games in the OHL. He's now in the AHL, and he was a 3rd round draft pick. But other than that, I don't know a heck of a lot about him.
Yeah, me neither. You probably should have brought on like a prospects expert here. Like I could tell you about the guys who've been in the NHL and who I've been following, but I don't know anything about. Like I've been learning a bit more about prospects lately. So I know like the higher end guys that have been picked early on in dynasty leagues, and I can tell you that Alec Regula is not one of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he's a card that you're excited to pull.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to bring on like a prospect expert that knows pretty deep into all these leagues, because I know prospects, but not to this level.
I'll bet you Victor Nuno could come on and tell you about all of these players.
That's probably true. But as far as hockey cards go, which is really what we care about when we're pulling young guns, I wouldn't be happy to pull this, but I'd probably just put it aside and be like, you know what, maybe one day this guy decides to show up in the NHL.
Yeah, it's maybe another lottery ticket like a John Leonard.
Yeah.
Like maybe he could be good, but I've never heard of him, so what do I even know?
All right, the next guy is the first Oiler card in this box. William.
Is that the one? We still haven't said the one that you think is going to be the most viable one, right?
We have not. Well, I didn't
Okay.
say the most valuable. I said the one that I'm going to be most excited about.
Oh, I know who it is.
Um,
Okay, I think I know who
you
it is
know,
now. It's on the
it
Senators, right?
might also be the most valuable out of the gate. Like, I would not be surprised at all. And if I'm betting, I might go that way. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not William Lagesson on the
No,
Oilers.
okay. We could go fast over Lagesson. He was playing it this year. Like the only reason he stopped is he got injured, which is unfortunate. So it was nice for him that he got into the NHL and was playing
Yeah.
decent minutes, but not doing much. Like
You know
I don't
what?
expect
Like,
anything from him.
he has shown that he's a good player. He plays kind of like Adam Larson style, like really just solid hockey. Um, and his card being an Oilers card will definitely jack it up a few bucks. So like it's like the Romanov effect, except he's not as sick as Romanov. So like I'll probably, if I don't pull one of these, I'll probably get one. But and I think that's what's going to bump it up is like all the Oilers fans want one. Um, but yeah, it's not like an exciting guy.
Yeah, no, he's not. He'll be lucky. Like it'll be good for him if he could play a full season in the NHL, not getting scratched at all, which I don't even think is
Right.
going to happen.
I could see him doing that.
Okay, so there you go. That's the bar.
Yeah. Certainly, I think I'm more excited about him than the next guy, but it's a goalie, and that is Matisse Kivlenieks. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I think it's like Kivlenieks,
Kivlenieks?
but like he's the back. Like the thing with Columbus is their goalies always get injured.
Yes, that's
So
true.
I think right now he is the backup for Korpisalo right now because Merzlikins is hurt. So I wouldn't even be surprised if now Korpisalo will get hurt because these guys always get hurt.
Right.
So maybe Keith Lennox gets a run. But I mean, he's had a few chances over the years. Like I remember last year he got in some games, or maybe I'm thinking of someone else because actually, yeah, he only played like 6 games last year. I don't think he's played this year, but he is currently. I think I'm right that he's currently the backup. Like
he's probably just riding the bench, right? Like they're just not.
Well, yeah,
willing to put him
Korpisalo's
in.
played every single game
Yeah.
since Merzlikins went down.
Yeah.
But someone is there, and I believe, yeah, I think it's but there's like another guy, Cam Johnson. I think
Right.
Cam Johnson and Keith Lennox keep switching back and forth between the taxi squad.
Right.
Anyway, obviously not a high-end guy. Like
No, and
I think that Elvis Merzlikins is the future of this team.
Yeah, and his numbers have been bad every year in the AHL. He even got sent to the ECHL one year, so not stoked.
All right, bye.
Next is Cole Smith of the Nashville Predators, who has one NHL game with them this year, and he plays in the AHL.
Yeah, I don't know. He has a good jawline.
Yeah, this is a bust as far as I'm concerned if you pull this out of a pack. So
yeah, okay. The next one is the fun one. This is the one you were thinking of, right?
The next one is the guy I want. This is like if I'm opening boxes, this is the one I'm hoping for, and that is Jimmy Stu, Tim Stützle, I think it is. Stützle. I love that he's got the U with the 2 dots in his name, which are also going to be on the card. Yeah, this guy is just so exciting. 14 points in 22 games, highlight reel goals. He plays for the Senators, who actually their cards do get a lot of respect in the card world, price-wise. So yeah, this is my guy.
Yeah, he's surprised me. Like I didn't expect him to come in as like an 18-year-old and make an impact in the NHL, but he's already having a good year. If it wasn't for Kaprizov, maybe Stützle would even be in consideration for the Calder. Like he's having a good season, or 19 years old, I should say. And he's also like super hot just right now. He's got 7 points in his last 7 games. So he's been playing with Batherson recently, who's also having a really nice breakout. So go grab his young guns from previous years if you can still get that cheap. But Stützle's great. Yeah, no, I don't see any reason why he can't be a big part of this team. Him and Brady Tkachuk and the Sens are like impressing, right? They're getting coaches fired. They're winning games that they shouldn't be winning.
Yeah.
Like obviously they're not going to do anything big this year, but maybe a couple of years down the road. Like Matt Murray hasn't been like as terrible as some people feared.
Right.
So maybe in a couple of years when some of these young guys get older, like this could be a team that can make a bit of a playoff run. Like Brandstrom's been good. Like Shabbat's good. Like they have a lot of good players. So yeah, Stützle could be a big part of a playoff team a couple of years from now.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on him. And so do like the general public seem to be high on him. The German factor I think is a big one too. Like when you look at the German players in the league, it's like Draisaitl, Stützle, I guess, Cahoon on Draisaitl's line. Like, there's not a lot of them, and there's an Olympics coming up, so he might feature pretty heavily in that as
Right.
well. So you might really
Yeah,
get like a boost.
he'll be on the top line. Good point. I
Playing
love
with
Germany right
Draisaitl,
now.
ooh, that would be hot.
I've been watching this show on Netflix, Dark, which is a
Ooh,
German show. It's so good.
okay.
So
I
I'm just
need
like all
shows to
about
watch.
Germany right now. Oh, it's so good,
All
man.
right, Dark.
It's like I won't even say anything, but if you're the type of person that like you won't watch it unless you need more to be convinced,
No,
I'll tell you a few things about it.
no, I don't even like watching trailers. Like, if you tell me it's great, I'll go watch it.
Yeah. And like obviously like give it a few episodes to like get to know, there's a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
people to get used to, but it's like the story is just insane. Like we're in season 2 right now, every episode is just like mind blown.
Excellent. I wonder if Jimmy Stu is into it.
He should be. If not, then get on board, Jimmy.
We'll have to check out his Instagram and see if he's talking about it. All right, let's get on to the next one. We've got number 483, Darren Radish, who I do remember this being a highly touted prospect. Like, he was a goal scorer in the OHL, or I guess point getter, I should say, not goal scorer. But then he hit the AHL and kind of hasn't done anything, and he hasn't gotten his shot in the NHL. And will he make it on the New York Rangers? Probably not. So I don't know. It's kind of like a long shot here.
This name sounds familiar. Was there like another Radish at some point in the
Yep.
NHL?
Yeah, I think he has a brother, or a relative at the very least. And they were both
All right.
like offensive guys that you thought would make it. Like, I think his brother is a forward, he's a defenseman. But like, as a defenseman, he had 81 points in 62 games in the OHL. Like, so you can get why people were hyped. But yeah, nothing much since. And
Yeah, this is another one of these cards of someone who's not even played a game ever in the NHL yet. So
yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one. I'll let you introduce
Ooh.
this one because you can pronounce it.
Pew Suter.
Yeah.
I was saying Pius forever, which is more fun, but it's Pew.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's
he's
pretty
had
fun.
What a wild guy to come in. Like, it's such a cool story, right? Because last year, Dominic Kubalik comes randomly to the Blackhawks and is right away like an all-star guy. Then this year, they bring him from the same league, the guy who led the same league in scoring as Kubalik. He comes to the NHL. Now, last time I checked, centering the top line of Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat. And lately he's been putting up some points. Like, he's just been everything I was hoping for. I picked him in my dynasty league in like the 8th round or something of a prospects draft. And he's been like a killer. Obviously he's had some luck, like in terms of this deployment, because Jonathan Taves is hurt. And so he's, got a fast track to the top line. But I think that this is a guy who, I don't know, like I would like, he's already 24. Like, he's not a Kaprizov. Like, he's not like a huge superstar, but I think he's potentially is going to have a nice career.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this guy. Like, I think he's like, I mean, he's centering the top line in his first season with Patrick Kane. And so if he could still be around if and when Chicago's ever good again,
yeah,
I think he could be a big part of the team.
Yeah.
But also I think he's a free agent. Like, I don't think he's like locked in.
A 1-year deal. Yeah.
I'll have to, okay, you talk for a second and I'll look him up on Cap Friendly.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, no, I think I'd be happy getting a Pew Suter out of one of these boxes. He's about half point a game this year. I think, like, it's kind of weird. Like, I think the NHL teams kind of missed this guy somehow. Like, he was in the World Juniors twice. He played for Switzerland in the Olympics. Then he went to the Swiss League and he was scoring points. Like, why? Like, I don't understand why he didn't like get drafted and get tried on an NHL team. He had 72 points in 61 games in the OHL. Like, why is he just coming over now? I don't understand.
Yeah, I've seen his name before. I remember I was looking at other players that were doing well that were coming over, and then I was looking. Sometimes it's fun to look at, like, okay, like this guy who's doing well, like who else in his league was like, doing better than him. Right. And Pew Suter has been leading his league in points like the past couple of years, I think. So, or at least in 2019-20. So yeah, it's like I don't know, Chicago's gain. They have him on a 1-year contract right now, but he's an RFA, so I guess they'll have the chance to sign him, and we'll see what happens. But I don't see why he shouldn't be an NHLer unless there's something I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, maybe he's one of those guys that when he was like a 17-year-old, he told teams like outright, like, I'm not coming to the NHL. And like, he just wanted to stay in Switzerland. I could see that. because I don't see any other reason that teams wouldn't be like, yeah, we're going to draft this guy and bring him over.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we've been going a long time. We've still got a lot of cards to go here. I wonder if we could do some sort of lightning round. There's still a few that I want to talk about for sure, and there's a lot of good names I haven't heard of.
Well, we're at 484, so we've got 16 left, including the checklist, which we won't spend time on. But there's definitely some guys that we can breeze through, so let's do that. Alexander Barabanov is a Toronto Maple Leafs card, and again, I might be mistaken, but I think this is the only Leafs card in here. So, maybe he's got some value because of that. He's from the KHL where he was putting up some points, but he's got 0 points in 11 games this year. I don't know.
Yeah, on and off the taxi squad. He gets in some games, then is out. Like the Leafs have had some injuries, which I think has helped him get onto the roster. Like Thornton was hurt for a bit, and Hyman was hurt. Right. So it doesn't seem like at 26 years old we should be expecting much from him.
No. Now, like, he'll have the Leafs jersey on, so like there's something there. But yeah, I'm not too jazzed about him.
Yeah.
Next guy is Philippe Maillet, 28 years old. Seems like he's hanging out in the AHL. He's a Washington Capitals guy, at least on his Young Guns he is.
Come on.
Yeah.
What are they putting this guy in here for? He's played one game this year.
I don't know. This is one of those ones where like just throw a dart and pick a guy. Like he actually has points in the AHL, but no.
Yeah, okay. I think we can move on. He's 28. Like it's his time has passed, I think.
I think so. Like he scored a lot of points in the QMJHL, but it was too long ago.
Yeah, maybe at one point we could have been excited about him. But,
the next guy is Maxime Letunov, a second-round pick by the St. Louis Blues, but he's now a San Jose Sharks young gun.
Yeah, this is following my rule. If you were drafted in 2014 and your Young Guns is in 2021, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, like he's got 3 games with the Sharks. He's another guy that like is putting up some points in the AHL, but it's getting a bit late, and I'm not really into it.
Okay.
Next is Alexander Yelesin of the Flames, and sticking with this theme, I think this is what the Flames fans get in this box, which, yikes. Do you know anything about this defenseman?
No, 25 years old, still hasn't had a significant NHL role, so that's another bust.
Yeah, and it looks like if he does make it, he's a kind of a more defensive guy, so not happy with that pull if I get it. The next one is Igor Sharangovich. So
he's been in the league this year, and he was playing with Jack Hughes for a bit at the start of the season. So I think there's something here. Like it seems like he's been on the team, I think, the whole time, and he's had some decent looks. I think he's played some, like minute. Like actually today he's playing on a line with Jack Hughes.
Hey, all right.
So he's seeing like decent ice time. Like he had 18 minutes of ice time on the game on Tuesday. So I think this is someone that could end up being an NHLer. Still pretty young, only 22 years old. I don't think we have a superstar here, but this is better than some of the other guys we've seen.
And he's from Belarus, so he'll probably be on their Olympic team because I don't know who else they have. So yeah, there's something here. Something.
Yeah.
It's not anything great, but something.
For sure. Like he's higher than who we were talking about before. Maxime Letunov.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. Okay, next up we have Lucas Vejdemo. How do you say that?
I've never heard of him. Drafted in 2015. He's played 7 games for the Habs like last season. So I guess you're going to say because he's wearing a Habs jersey, this might be worth something, but I've never heard anyone talk about this person before.
I mean, so he's got 6 points in 7 games for Laval this year in the AHL. So yeah, like it will get that Montreal Canadiens boost. And this was the guy who was like, I think there's another Montreal guy in this box, but it's not anything special. He's already 25. So yeah, like I think his cards will sell, and that's what I do if I get one. But I'm not like looking at him thinking he'll be amazing. He was a 3rd round pick, so like there's a chance. But it's kind of like it's a chance.
Yeah, like he was drafted in 2015, so it's not as bad as the 2013, 2014 people.
Yeah.
So, like you say, like maybe some good numbers in the AHL this year is good. Like last year, he only had 19 points in 47 games, so maybe he just had some good puck luck in a couple games. Like, I don't know. He's not someone that I'm too. Like I said, I've never heard of him. So what can I say?
Yeah, I mean, if he does make the team at some point, it'll be interesting to see, and like his cards will get that Montreal boost because people will be like, I don't want to miss it.
Seems like a good guy to sell whenever he has.
Yeah,
maybe he'll be like that. Who was that guy that had a hat trick in his first game on the Habs, and then people were so into his Ryan Poehling. Like sell him when he has his random hat trick.
Yeah. All right, the next guy is Brandon Hagel of the Chicago Blackhawks, and it looks like he's going to be an NHLer.
He's been playing this year, like very bottom 6 minutes. He's actually playing on a line with Dominik Kubalik this year, but I think that's more just to say that Dominik Kubalik has been getting bad deployment,
right? Rather
than Hagel is like in a really good spot. Like he's not even getting any power play time, so he's just clearly not like someone who's considered an offensive contributor on the team.
I think like the thing with him is like he was a skilled guy, and it'll be whether he keeps being a skilled guy in the NHL or finds a different role. Like he had 102 points in 66 games in the WHL in his final season there. And
you know what? He does actually have points in 3 straight games. I'm seeing now. He has an assist today versus Tampa Bay as we talk.
Yeah.
So
like this is a guy where like I'm probably a bit happier with this guy than a lot of the like borderline guys that we've talked about.
That's fair. He got a shorthanded assist on a Ryan Carpenter goal.
Look at that.
So he's going to play shorthanded. I think he's like a depth guy on this team. Like I think he could stick on the team maybe. He's still pretty young.
Yeah.
He's no Pew Suter, though. I would definitely take Suter over Hagel if I had my choice.
As would I. Knyzhov is an NHLer this year, but he's defensive defenseman, so not interested. The next guy is David Kasha. I think that's how you say it, for Philadelphia, who's been in and out of the lineup.
He's related to Andre Kasha, right? I think they're brothers.
I believe so.
That's cool.
But I think we're pretty confident at this point he's a 4th liner, like maybe 5th, 3rd liner. Sometimes I said 5th liner, basically. So
Taxi Squad is the 5th line.
But also this is like the Philadelphia card you're getting in here. So I don't know. Yeah. Then we've got Steven Lorentz, 7th round draft pick, for Carolina.
I'll tell you all you need to know about Steven Lorentz, okay? I'm in this deep dynasty league where there's like 400 prospects like rostered, and he's still available in free agency.
Oof, that's rough. Okay, yeah. I don't think we want his young gun. All right, but now we've got a good one. There's 495 is Dylan Cozens of the Buffalo Sabres, and I'd say this is like a top 5 hit in this box. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he has a huge pedigree. He was amazing in the WHL. He's jumped right to the NHL this year. Hasn't even played it in the AHL. I wonder if he gets bounced down there at some point. It's not a fun place to be, I don't think, on the Buffalo Sabres this year. I hope he doesn't end up just struggling to start his career because he's on this crappy team. Mm-hmm. But I like the idea of him centering like a Taylor Hall or something. Like at some point he was centering Taylor Hall and was looking like, oh, it's a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
He hasn't like had much of an impact this year, but 7th overall pick, like insane in the WHL. Like obviously this guy has a really high pedigree, so he's a good pull for sure.
And like, I know they didn't win this year, but probably the best player maybe besides Zegras in the World Juniors. Like he was dominant. So yeah, I'd be very happy to get a Dylan Cozens card.
For sure.
Maybe even second to Stützle for me.
But like ahead of Kaprizov?
Yeah.
The disrespect.
I have no love for Kaprizov.
I love him. Like, well, it was the same as over the summer where you didn't love Fiala. I guess just like any Minnesota Wild player, you're just like throw him in the garbage.
Well, I mean, like what's happening with Fiala now?
Well, yeah, it's not going as well as I hoped, but he's had some bad luck. Like he's taken a lot of shots, and not all of them have gone in.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm definitely higher on Kaprizov than Fiala, but yeah, I think Cozens like just gets a lot more love from the Canadian fans, and I mean the challenge is he's on Buffalo, so that kind of sucks. But I like Minnesota's not much better in my books.
I don't know. I'd rather have in terms of fantasy, anyways. I'd rather have the person on Minnesota.
But right now,
somehow scoring goals.
Yeah. All right, the next guy is my boy Stuart Skinner for the Oilers. He has been a prospect of theirs for a while. He's only 22, but it seems like he's been around for a while. He might be their goalie one day. He's struggled mightily in the game that they threw him in this year, but wasn't really like a fair situation. It kind of was like the worst game they've played all year, although they've played some bad games recently. So, and yeah, his numbers aren't great, but again, one of those Oilers that he'll be a few bucks, and I'll probably buy one just because he's an Oiler.
Alex Stalock just got signed by the Oilers.
No
So
way, I missed that.
that was like yesterday. He
How did I miss
was
that?
waived by Minnesota. So I guess the Oilers are
they claimed him.
They claimed him, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see now if the Oilers, what they're going to do. Are they going to run 3 goalies, or is like Mike Smith on his way out, or is
I hope so.
Koskinen on his way? I don't know what they're doing, but
they need one.
They could use a good goalie, that's for sure. So
yeah,
we'll see if it could be Stuart Skinner. I guess it could be. It's a goalie. Who knows?
Maybe it's
okay, but I really want to talk about this next button, man. He is so good.
Speaking of goalies, Kevin Lankinen, the absolute shocker, at least from my perspective, of this year, just crushing, like basically making Chicago a good team.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's not throw any shade at Alex DeBrincat, who's been huge.
Sure.
And if you got any of his young guns over the summer, I'm sure that spiked heavily. He's having an amazing year. But yeah, Lankinen, it was like, it looked like going into the year, it was going to be between Malcolm Subban and like not even Lankinen. Like it was like another guy. Colin Delia.
Yeah.
Were sort of the two expected to be the starter and backup. And then like maybe Lankinen will get a shot. But it's like Subban, he had a couple good games actually recently, but overall he's Malcolm Subban. We've seen a lot from him that hasn't gone well. And then Delia didn't really even get a chance because Kevin Lankinen has just been lights out, like you've said. And Unreal. It seems like he's taken over as the starter. And Chicago is like up 2-0 against Tampa Bay today after 2 periods, just goes to show like how good Lankinen has been. And all of a sudden now we're looking at potentially like a guy who could be potentially the goalie for the Blackhawks for years, right? Like, why not? It's not like they have anyone else in the system that I've heard of that they were especially high on. So yeah, Lankinen is having a huge year, potentially another Calder candidate if there wasn't a Kaprizov. Yeah, I would love to get his card. I think that he's a really fun story.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy to pull him. And I think like we're seeing a trend here, right? Like the goalies that we're talking about in Young Guns series are all like 25, 26 years old. I think generally people know that goalies come into the league a bit later, but that's kind of like the point where we're like, oh, this goalie came out of nowhere. But really, like he had a good final season when he was playing in Smoliga. Then he had a couple years in the AHL where he probably had to figure out how the hell to play on our ice surface. And now he's more than ready.
It's very cool. It's like, it's a fun story. We actually had a guy on our podcast, William Nadeau, came over the summer to talk goalies.
Ooh.
And he randomly just threw out there, like, watch out for this Kevin Lankinen guy. I think he's going to be really good. And he totally like called that perfectly. And I've got him in my dynasty league and he's someone we picked super late. And it's crazy. Like, been huge, especially because we had Allmark who got hurt. We had Francouz who got hurt. Like we've had some really bad goalie luck, but like Lankinen is keeping us in this.
That's legit. All right. Well, we've got 2 more Young Guns. That was 497. We've got 498 is Joel Kellman of the San Jose Sharks. And he's got a bunch of games in the NHL, but he's 26 years old and he played in Sweden for a while. I don't really see much upside here.
Yeah, it's really like they might as well have just left Lankinen be last so that it can end with a bang.
Right. Yeah.
It's like we had some fun with Cozens. You threw in a Stuart Skinner, then you get Lankinen. Then we're ending here with Joel Kellman and Braden Burke.
Burke.
Yeah, Burke hasn't even played an NHL game. He's already 24.
Yeah, he's an Arizona Coyotes young gun. Now, at the same time, last year he had 52 points in 51 games in the AHL. Yeah. So maybe he's like the next Connor Garland.
I mean, that would be great, and I guess it's possible.
It's possible. I
haven't heard many people talk about him.
No, me neither. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the Young Guns, and I think this is honestly maybe why they have the checklist at the end, is so that if there's a final one, it's like, okay, here's your checklist of all the Young Guns, and this year it's got Stützle and it's got Cozens. So I think what Upper Deck is saying is that I'm right, that these are the top 2 guys.
I thought usually the one who's like the first card is the one that they also put on the checklist. Isn't this rare that you've got Kaprizov not on the checklist when he's the number 451?
I think you're right about that, to be honest. So what I think might have happened is they had these guys as their checklist and Stützle was going to be the number 1 and then they changed it. Now, I
Okay.
could be wrong about that. That's complete speculation. But I don't think they expected to have Kaprizov as their headliner.
Well, they should have. They should have been. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that was a really fun set. Like, obviously, a lot of randos that we hadn't heard of, but like,
Yeah.
you heard there was like 5 to like. I feel like there's like maybe 8 guys where like my voice raised, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm into this guy. Like, there's a lot of good pulls here. I can't wait for us to open our box. This has been a blast.
Yeah,
Ryan.
it's gonna be really cool. When those do show up, I'm gonna be very stoked to open them. I hope we get some Stützles and some Kaprizovs. I hope you get the Kaprizovs. Maybe we'll make a trade if I get it. But yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. And yeah, like you say, I think this is a more exciting box to open. And I'm gonna be really curious to see what the prices look like because there isn't that one obvious Lafreniere, but all these guys are better than Lafreniere, to be honest.
I mean, so far, but Lafreniere, I mean, he's really young. Like, give him a break.
I don't think I
that
want to
he's-
give him a break. He's had the worst start of any first overall pick ever. Like I looked
That
back.
can't-
No, yeah, seriously, I looked back through like maybe not like in the 50s, but like there's nobody that's been worse out of the gate. Nobody.
Didn't Joe Thornton struggle like in his first season?
Not like this. No, like
Or,
seriously, like it's like insane. Like Jack Hughes last year had a really bad end to his first year, but it wasn't a bad beginning.
All right, so you heard it from Ryan. I guess sell your Lafrenieres. I'll buy it. Do you have? So you have some Lafrenieres, right?
I've got them coming from ComC actually. I wasn't gonna buy them, and I probably shouldn't have. I went against my own reasoning. But
I'll buy low from you.
I
if
got
you
a
want.
good price on them. So
What? How much did you spend?
I think I got them for 135 each. I've got to check that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
All right, well, if you ever get really frustrated and you want to sell one to me for like $50, I'll do that.
Well, so it was funny. I was looking at that night. I was looking at their lines, and he got put back with Panarin. He hadn't done anything for like 15 games. I was like, you know what? Like, this is a good price. I'm gonna buy this. And 30 minutes later, he scores a goal. I was like, what the hell?
By the way, it's 6-1 right now. Or the Rangers beat the Devils 6-1, and Lafreniere had a goal and an assist.
No way!
So, this
right.
is the start.
This is it. Okay. So,
Somehow, Mika Zibanejad 1 assist in the whole game.
yeah.
And it's like, he's the guy I drafted high on my fantasy team, driving me crazy. He only played 13 minutes. What's going on with Zibanejad? Anyway, this has been a lot of fun. I love going through this. We should do this we should make this a tradition. Anytime a new set of Young Guns comes out, maybe next time let's bring Victor also to tell us about the guys that none of us have heard of.
You know what? That would be really cool. The three of us could go through it, and we're gonna have to because there's an extended series. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll get the three of us on for that. But yeah, let's wrap up. So yeah, obviously, thanks a lot for coming back on, Elan. It was great to have you for the Young Guns chat, and I look forward to opening those boxes with you.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, thanks for everyone for listening, and looking forward to hear what people think.
Yeah, so obviously follow us on all the social medias. Hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time, go get those Series 2 Young Guns.
Especially Kaprizov.
Especially Kaprizov.
All right, see ya.
See you, man.